We are here to cover the second part of class, which would be IEW. This week we are talking about lesson 21, favorite amusements, part 2. That's going to be on page 179 in your guide. Over the last couple of weeks with break, they should have written their 2 paragraphs about entertainment, amusement, or holidays. They got to pick anything they wanted. I know Eli picked 2 very random forms of entertainment and amusement. And so remember, we write our papers from the inside out. So we write our body paragraphs first. And today we're going to talk about the conclusion paragraph, and then we're going to talk about the introduction paragraph. So they should have their 2 body paragraphs about amusements or entertainment or holidays. And what they're going to do is, after they've written those, they're going to turn to page, let's see, 192, and there's a space on page 192 where they can start with their conclusion paragraph. So this is not exactly how it goes for Faces of History, just because you're more factual, but this is a great foundational tool for them to learn about how to write conclusion and introduction, because you will write it the same way, but just different content, more factual content instead of stuff from the mind. It's going to be from a source. So you're going to write your conclusion paragraph first, and you're going to label it paragraph 4, and you're going to put the title as conclusion. So the first thing you're going to do is restate your topics. So we had 2 topics, so you're going to restate the 2 things that you wrote about in a great, wonderful sentence. Just don't say this paper is about Dollywood and Disney World. Make it beautiful. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to talk about the most significant or the most important. Now, this is where you get to put in your opinion. You can talk about maybe which one is the most significant in your life, which one's the most important in your life, or you can talk about aspects of entertainment and amusement that are most significant or important to you. It doesn't have to be choosing one or the other. You can say, the most important thing about entertainment or amusement for me is that I'm with my friends and family, and I can be with my friends and family at Dollywood or Disney World. You can talk about whether you think Disney World or Dollywood. I'm sorry, y'all. My children they have cabin fever. But you can talk about whether you think Dollywood or Disney World is better. This is all your opinion, and you can choose anything that is most significant or important about those 2 topics. Then that will take about 1 to 2 sentences. Then you're going to take another 1 or 2 sentences and tell why you think that is the most significant or important thing about that topic. That is your conclusion paragraph. Super simple, super easy, and you're going to find the keyword outline on page 192. If you would like some sample conclusion or introductions, they're on page 181. And there's a sample keyword outline for the conclusion on page 182 that you can walk through it with your student. Okay? After they finish the conclusion keyword outline, they're going to flip to the introduction keyword outline, which is also on page 192, and the sample is on page 181. So the first thing that they're going to do for their introduction paragraph is they're going to use an attention getter. This is going to be 1 to 2 sentences. And I like to tell my students that with an attention getter, you want to invite the reader in to where they're like, ooh, I want to know more. You don't just state this paper is about amusements and entertainment. We're not going to do that. I mean, you can, but they're not going to want to read more. You want to make them hungry to read more. So you want something interesting, okay? So the first tool or suggestion is you can ask them a question to spark their interest. What do you like for entertainment? What do you like for amusement? Do you think Dollywood is better or Disney World? So let's ask a question. You can also find a quote, maybe Google, or maybe a quote that your mom says all the time about amusement, entertainment, or holidays, and that will spark their interest. Or a story, just a really short story, 1 or 2 sentences involving entertainment or amusement. So after you've gotten their attention, Then you're going to give background information. I like to say that background information is stuff that you wished you would have put in the paper maybe, but that you didn't have time or space for. So you're going to put the context, the time, the place, or just extra information that you were not able to factor in there, but that pertains to the topics. Then that's going to be about 2 sentences, possibly 3, just depending on what you end up using. And then after you put your background information, you're going to state your topics. And state it in flowery language. Just don't say this paper is about Dollywood and Disney World. You know, you can say 2 wonderful forms of entertainment and amusement in America and in my life are, or two things that I have found most entertaining or amusing, that I have fond memories of, are trips to Dollywood and Disney World. So you can make that personal, make it interesting, and then what you'll do is you'll make those keyword outlines, and the template is on page 192. And you will make those keyword outlines and then write your paragraphs and add them to your paper. So you already have your 2 paragraphs about the 2 different forms of entertainment and amusement. And this week you're going to add your conclusion first and then your introduction second. So when we come back, there should be 4 paragraphs in your paper. You can turn them in separately. You can combine them all in a document and put them all together. Whatever your mom or whatever you tell your student is fine with me. It doesn't matter either way. In regards to Faces of History, we have no new stylistic techniques. So just continue adding in all your dress ups, your decorations, and your sentence openers when you're writing your paper. Continue, and remember, easy plus 1. So do what's easy and then add the next thing. I don't want that to be an overwhelming. Eli and I had a conversation this week about sentence starters and how difficult some of them were and how confusing some of them were. So we kind of actually backed down on that as well. And because I had kind of just thought, well, he's third toward, pile it on. And there were some that were hard for him. So I pulled a couple out that were difficult and just put all the ones he found easy in, and then added 1 difficult one. So even I tend to kind of pile things on without thinking and just being like, oh, you got this. And then we go back and revisit it. And I find that, oh, there needs to be some more practice in this. There needs to be some more conversation about this. Let's pull back and only do a couple. So you're going to continue with your sentence openers, your vocab, and your dress ups and decorations, and continue adding those in. For Faces of History this week, you're going to continue working on your fused keyword outlines for your topics. You should be working on the 3 topics you're going to write about, and then as well as forming the keyword outlines regarding those 3 topics, and then fusing them. I know Miss Becca posted a document for the fused keyword outlines on Band. Thank you for that. That was super helpful. We were looking for that and couldn't find it in our class. So print those out, and remember that you need to at least have 2 different sources for each topic. You don't have to use every single source for every paragraph. You can use 2 sources for this paragraph A, 2 different sources for paragraph B. You can use 4 sources. You can use as many as you want, but there needs to be at least 2 different sources per paragraph. As always, if you have any questions or this doesn't make sense or you need help or encouragement, please let us know. We're happy to help, and we're happy to answer any questions and come alongside you and help make the process less difficult. And I also want to remind you, it's more about the journey than the destination. It is more about the process of writing your Faces of History paper and learning about that person and becoming an expert on that person and then putting all of that information into a paper than it is about the end result. So I just want to encourage you to continue taking the next step in that process. And if you need help or just solidarity, reach out and listen to some opera in the background from all of the U's at my house right now. All right, I hope that everyone is warm and I hope that everyone is safe. And I'm sad that we can't meet today, but I'm very excited to hopefully, prayerfully, be back next week. Have a great week. Stay warm.